Good evening, everyone. It's Vicki Heath here with First Place for Health and Arlene Pellicane. I'm so excited to have her with us tonight. You will notice that I am not Helen Barada. Helen is having some good, well-deserved time away with her family in Pennsylvania. So I'm stepping in and I'm thinking I should be texting her right now saying, what was I thinking that I could do this as well as you? But all of you out there in cyber world have lots of grace for people who try and do these Zoom webinars without lots of experience. So that's what I'm gonna do tonight. But I'm so excited about having my friend Arlene Pellicane here with us tonight. So Arlene, would you just come on so everybody can see you all the way from San Diego? Say hi to Arlene. And
Hey,
as
everybody.
Hey, everybody.
It's so nice to be together. Vicki, you're going to do it. You already are doing a great job and you're going to do a great job. So let's have some fun.
Yeah, well, we're going to have a good time and learn some things and about how to navigate this world of device time. And so if you're jumping on, just kind of just put in the chat there where you're from so that we can just kind of see how everybody's connecting. My friend Marilyn from Boston. Arlene, we have people from all over the country.
That's so cool. I'm in San Diego, so we go from corner to corner. So that's pretty cool.
Corner to corner. And Arlene is so kind. She's like the kindest person that's telling me that I'm going to be fine.
Totally.
And you know what the hardest thing was? I'll probably forget most of it, like when to change the view and all that stuff. It's putting on makeup at 9 o'clock at night.
Right. It's just not right. You're supposed to be taking it off at that time. And here you are putting it on.
I know, but it's my pride. I thought at least. Well, anyway, I want to introduce you all to my friend Arlene. And she is, like she just said, from San Diego, California. She's a mom, she's a wife, she's a writer, she's a speaker, she's a personal friend of mine, and I'm blessed to know her, have her in my life. And her writing, her speaking has had such an impact on what's going on in our world that she's been on, oh my goodness, Fox and Friends, the Wall Street Journal, Focus on the Family. Arlene, what an amazing,
God is amazing. It is true.
And I just want you to know her and her heart toward families, toward being able to manage our way through living in this world that we live in today. And can you just share a little bit about yourself personally, and then we'll jump into the real meat of what we're going to talk about tonight.
Absolutely. I was raised with a mom who was Catholic and a dad that grew up in a Protestant church, and we would go to Catholic church when I was young, but it wasn't like alive to me. So when I was in elementary school, there was a very busy church and my parents took me there, and they will tell me, they kind of reminded me of this, during Mother's Day and different family events, that I was the one that said, I really like it here. They're singing and I understand the sermon and I see other kids. I really like it. And so in elementary school, my family and I made that decision to follow Christ. And of course, that's the best decision that you're ever going to make. I went to Biola University. I had the dream of being a speaker, but I thought, what in the world can I talk about? I've just graduated from college. I haven't experienced very much. So I had various jobs, some wonderful jobs, like working with Turning Point with David Jeremiah, working with their radio and their television department. And then when I came home to be a stay-at-home mom, I was writing for Turning Point, doing other freelance writing. And my husband said, you've always dreamt of speaking and writing. Why don't you do it now? So, my oldest is 16 now, and I've been so blessed to be able to write and speak and be a stay-at-home mom. And I've just been having the time of my life, and it's all God's goodness. But I'm so thankful for First Place for Health. I was introduced to First Place by my mentor, Pam Farrell, she was the one that I stood in line, and, she was speaking and I stood in line, introduced myself. and she took me under her wing and she taught me the ropes. And I'm just so grateful to her. And I'm grateful for what First Place does to help us all stay on track with our overall health.
Oh, that's so cool. One thing I did not know about you was that you went to Biola.
Yes.
And Pam Farrell is a Biola graduate.
Yes.
And my son, Mark Heath,
Oh,
went all the way across the country to go to Biola.
that's
Oh
awesome.
my goodness. So beautiful, beautiful campus. And
yeah.
what a great education.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about managing this device time in this world of it's a cyber world today.
Yeah.
It's so not like it was when you and I were growing up, and we had a telephone and somebody called and our parents usually answered the phone.
Right. And they could say, "Is Vicki home?" And then they'd be like, "We don't like this guy." No, Vicki is not home. It's like
Or
she
who's
is never
calling,
home.
please? So tell us a little bit about this latest book that has just kind of gone crazy, helping parents and grandparents kind of manage and negotiate this cyber world. Tell us a little bit about that, Arlene.
Yes. So it's so important because obviously it's something we all deal with. It's like this technology has just been a tsunami rising, and it's such a part of people's lives, not just teenagers, but toddlers and preschoolers and school age kids. And before the pandemic, there was already issues with a lot of screen time and a lot of concern with, hey, what are kids missing if they're spending so much time on screens? But now, of course, after the pandemic, it's even more so. There was one advisor that had forgive me, the name has escaped me right now, but was saying that it's going to send like shockwaves because you're so used to so much digital entertainment. And then when we actually do go back to school in real time, in person, people are just going to be like, what is this? So we just wanted to be able to address this. So the we is myself and Dr. Gary Chapman, who you will probably know from the 5 Love Languages. And this is a book, Screen Kids, and it's talking about what does screen time do in the brain? What does screen time do to your emotional health? And then what are the skills, the emotional skills that a child really needs? And then a companion book of that is Grandparenting Screen Kids, because a lot of grandparents now are either watching their grandkids a lot more and wondering like, is there anything my grandchild wants to do besides playing video games? And so this is a resource also for grandparents. So we have those 2 books. And you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Is that good, Vicki?
Yes.
I wasn't sure you were going to ask me another question because I wanted to explain something about content, because a lot of people will think, well, that's ironic. You're writing about screen kids and you're writing about technology, but you are talking to me via Zoom, like, you hypocrite, right? And you get confused because you think as a parent or grandma, you're telling the kids, get off the screen, but wait a minute, I'm on the screen for work. Is that bad? And so I want to help us all understand that all content is not the same. All screen content is not the same. It's a very different medium. And so the reason a lot of times we'll get the phone for a grandchild or a child, a tablet, iPad, et cetera, is we'll think, well, there are some good things on there. They can talk to their friends. They can watch a sermon. When we weren't able to go to church in person, we could watch a sermon online, et cetera. And so here's how I want you to think about it. I want you to think about it like that there are digital vegetables and that there is digital candy, that there are both of those things. And digital vegetables, those are the kinds of things that are healthy for you, that you never get addicted to and you don't get in trouble over. So for instance, there are things like what you're doing right now. You came to this First Place for Health because you wanted to get the information. And most likely you're not going to be waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning going, I just got to watch that one more time. She was so amazing, right? You're not going to get addicted to this. So this is, your pastor's sermon. This is learning a different language, learning an instrument, learning how to cook a recipe. For kids, it's doing math. It's learning another language. It's something like that we would think, oh, great, they're going to use a Bible app and it's going to help them with their Bible memory. So those kinds of things, that's a digital vegetable. That's really good for kids. And that's why we think, okay, this is great. And it's the same for adults, these digital vegetables. But then on the other side of all that, there is digital candy. And the digital candy, that's the stuff that's Not so good for you. You were talking about YouTube and Netflix and social media and video games. And it's hard to do it in moderation. It's hard to just take a little bit. It ends up, taking up so much of your time, and it's lesser quality, right? The content is totally different. And so you have to ask yourself as an adult, and also ask your children, is this a digital vegetable or is this digital candy? And so I have this bag of M&Ms, right? And I will tell you, I'll confess to people at First Place for Health, this was it was one of those coupons in the grocery store that was free. So I took it, but I ate it all by myself. And my daughter Noelle, who's in ninth grade, she said, "Did you eat that bag all by yourself, Mom?" I said, "I sure did." But if I have all the self-control in the world, and I have this bag and I put it on my desk in the morning, and I tell myself, I am just going to eat 10 M&Ms. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to pray about it. I'm going to think about it. I'm just going to pray, Jesus, just help me have 10 M&Ms. But in truth, when this is sitting on my desk, am I going to eat 10 M&Ms? Yeah, for every 5 minutes, I'm going to eat 10 M&Ms, right? It doesn't work. And we need to realize for ourselves and for the children and grandchildren in our lives that when they have access to a smartphone, to a tablet, to YouTube, to Netflix, anything like that, it is like digital candy. And it is junk food for the mind. It's junk food for the soul. And a little bit is okay. After a hard day, you've done your school, you've done your exercise, you've done other things, you want to watch a little TV, that could be okay. And especially if you watch it together as a family, I might even call that a digital vegetable. But most kids, 6 hours a day, that's kids 8 through 12, and then 9 hours a day, that's our teenagers. And we adults, we're on entertainment and screens and that, 10 hours a day as well. So we're there too. A lot of digital candy is passing through our children's bodies and our bodies. And so that's a really good way to look at it, because you don't struggle to eat candy, do you? Like, it's pretty easy for most of us just to eat candy and just keep going. But you do struggle to get in those vegetables, and you do struggle to not eat the stuff you're not supposed to. And it is the exact same thing digitally. And just in the same way that a constant junk food diet is going to make your body sick, you're going to be susceptible to disease, you're going to get overweight, your heart's not going to work as well, you're going to develop diabetes, all these things are going to happen as a result. The same is true digitally, that as adults and as kids, when we are consuming way too much digital information that is candy, right? For kids, if you just ask your child, your grandkid, "Hey, what are you doing right now?" They're probably not saying, "Oh, I'm watching a webinar about how to fight world hunger." They're probably not doing that. They are having digital candy. So we just have to have that piece clear. So let's talk about why screen time is so sticky. All right. Like, why is this something that trips us up as adults? And why is this something that's tripping up our kids? And there are 3 reasons that I think are really key to understand, because the Bible tells us to seek wisdom. And we know that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And these screens, they're undermining the fear of the Lord a lot of times for us and for our kids. Because yes, the digital vegetables are out there. You can be uplifted by a message. You can be uplifted by the word of God. But let's be honest, how are we really, really, really using it? Okay, so why are these things so sticky? 1, there are no stopping cues. So it used to be that you'd watch a favorite program, the program would end, the next program is boring, you turn off the TV and you would go to sleep, right? Or at least you'd have to wait a full week for the next episode. Well, what can you do now? You can get a little behind, and then you can watch the whole season back to back, and you can watch after one movie, another one queues up. There are no stopping cues. When your children and grandchildren are on social media and you're going through that scroll, and they say that adults in America, they are spending 2 hours and 3 minutes on social media every day. It's something worldwide. In the Philippines, they're spending 2 hours and 53 minutes a day on social media. And so here we are on social media, and we're just scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. There is no stopping cue. Have you noticed that? It's not like you get to the end and then it just stops. Like, you've run out of friends, you've run out of followers. There's nothing else this year. That never happens. So in video games, used to be you put in the little quarter in your Pac-Man and then it would wah, 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 and be over. now obviously kids can just keep playing, keep playing, keep playing, keep playing. There's no game over. There are no stopping cues. And so we as adults, we have to put in a stopping cue for ourselves, whether it really physically be a timer, like I'm going to go on social media for 10 minutes and I'm going to check a few things, check in with a few people, and then I'm going to get out. And then that timer is going to go off and you're going to go, okay, I need to go, because you have now given yourself a stopping cue, because you have to understand on its own, there is no stopping cue. So that's one reason why it's so sticky. Think of a newspaper, beginning and an end. You know when it's over. But news, what's news like? Every 5 minutes, there's this headline that's earth shattering, and so it's constant. So there's no stopping cues. The second thing is that screen time gives us unpredictable rewards. You know how, like, when you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to get healthy, you want that reward. You think to yourself, if I eat clean for 7 days, I'm going to treat myself with this, right? And it helps us. And those kinds of thoughts are good. Well, the same thing is true with screen time. You get rewards. And it's unpredictable. They did this experiment in the 70s with the pigeons, and they had one pigeon that they would do peck, 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 and then it would get a pellet. And it was very predictable. 3 pecks, peck, 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 pellet, peck, 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 pellet. Another pigeon, it was unpredictable. Peck, 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 pellet, peck, pellet, peck, 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 pellet. They didn't know. And guess who liked doing it more? You would think the pigeon that knew, like, I want a pellet, I'm going to peck. No, it was the unpredictable rewards, because you get excited thinking, like, am I going to get something? Am I not going to get something? And so all of technology, the people that have designed video games, social media apps, Netflix, et cetera, all of these things, it's unpredictable. What's going to queue up next? What level will I get to next? What's going to show up at my social feed next? How many followers am I going to have? What today? How many likes am I going to have today? And these are unpredictable rewards. And we like that. We crave that. And so that's why it's important for us to, like, take a walk and leave our phone behind, so that we have time where we don't have to have this constant, like a little slot machine in our pocket, and that we walk away from that. And then for our kids, it's important for our kids and our grandchildren that we say, you know what, let's delay that device one more year, because you really don't need that slot machine in your pocket to provide those unpredictable rewards so much. So there's no stopping cues. Screen time gives you unpredictable rewards. And then screen time, thirdly, taps into the power of goals, that we are goal setting creatures. We want to have this, we want to fit into this size. We want to, be able to run this many miles. We want to raise this much money for charity. Like, we like these goals and these standards to try to attain to. Well, guess what? That's how it works. Snapchat, something very popular for teenagers. So they have a thing called a streak, that they do this thing between two friends to keep a streak going. And so many kids will say, I can't go on my family vacation, camping with no Wi-Fi, because then I'll lose my streak. It's this idea that I have this goal to, like, we have to just keep sending each other little snaps, and that keeps our streak alive. And then we get like a little fire emoji that says that we've got a streak going, and I don't want to lose that, right? So it's these goals. Think of a young man, and he might not be great at school, and he might be kind of awkward with girls, but he's really good at gaming, and he's successful there. And so in terms of his goals, he is just crushing it with video games. And so these are artificial goals that don't really help our kids as they grow into as adults. And they're artificial goals when, for us, can you imagine as adults, if we make it's not our spoken goal. I don't think any of us say, I want to have this many followers and that's my life goal. We don't say that, but do we think it? Do we believe it? Do we start thinking that our success comes from how many people follow us on social media? Do people respond to what I say? Those kinds of things, those kinds of goals, they're not the goals that God has for us. They're not the goals of treasuring, God's people and God's word in our hearts. So we have to be careful not to wander in that direction. So we've talked about digital vegetables and digital candy. So you can think when you're doing your work, because we all start with our work on technology, but then what do? We drift, right? We drift. They call it cyber loafing. Then you're looking at shoes, and then you're looking at events, and you're looking at possibly going to a concert. Wouldn't that be exciting? And looking at vacation, but so then you have to ask yourself, wait a minute, is this a digital vegetable or digital candy? And I can have a little bit of candy, but otherwise I gotta not do that. So it's the same way. Have those conversations with your kids, and then realize that screens, they're not neutral. This is not like a chalkboard. This isn't like this neutral slate that's, neither good or bad. It is currently designed by big tech to be as addictive as possible. And so to realize there are brain scientists, there's psychologists that know. There's a wonderful documentary called The Social Dilemma. And again, you think, well, but I'm telling you, it's a vegetable. You can watch that thing and it is a vegetable. But it shows you how by design, they realize that if we tag each other in social media, it makes us curious. So if I get a little message, you've been tagged in a photo, what happens to me? All of a sudden, I want to know, well, who tagged me in their photo? And I'm on my phone again. Now, that was by design. Now, they could have, in that same message that says you've been tagged in a photo, they could have put the photo and the person that tagged you. Wouldn't that have been like a time saver for you? But no, they don't want to help you. They want you to get back in the app, get back in your Facebook page, Instagram page, whatever, and look at it and re-engage so they can have your attention. So you've got to realize, wow, this is wired to get us. And it's not just us with fully formed brains who are mature and can figure this stuff out, but our kids. So our kids and our grandkids, that's who we as moms, as dads, we've got to jump up and protect and say, wait a minute, son, daughter of mine, you're eating candy all day long and you're not even aware of it and you can't even stop. So I, as a parent, will be the bad, mean mom, mean dad, and say, hey, you know what? I learned something new today. And I learned that probably 5 hours of YouTube, even though it's been COVID, is not the best for your brain. So we're going to dial that back down to 1 hour. Okay. Right. And your children are not going to be like, well, what a good idea. That's great. They're going to be like, you are the meanest parent ever. And in that moment, you got to say, that's my job. My job is to set the limits because there is too much at stake here. What's at stake? Your child's brain. Now we can go into their spirit, which I think you could argue is even more at stake. Who is discipling the heart of your child? What kind of worldview are they going to get about God if they get it from social media, from popular culture, from what they're watching on Disney, on Netflix, on Hulu? What is their worldview going to be like? And that is a very dire picture. The latest research from George Barna was that currently in America, 91% of people do not believe that they're sinful and need to be saved by Jesus Christ. 73% of people believe in karma. I think it was like 80% of people say that it doesn't matter what you believe as long as you believe something. They are living in a very post-Christian culture. And when you hand a child a phone, they have that digital candy, that spiritual disease, right, is that truly is the primary concern. That's true. But let's just think about physical health and the impact of screens and kids and adults. And so in the book Screen Kids, we talk about safety. And a lot of times you think about, predators, keeping your children safe from predators, which is 100% true. You need to do that. But physically, even just from head to toe, you can see all the problems that take place when we as adults, or especially children with developing bodies, when they have too much screen time. So first of all, the eyes. So lots of kids in Asia now, a lot of people in Asia have been using technology more aggressively than even we have been in America. And they're seeing that 80 to 90% of kids are developing nearsightedness because they're so used to looking here, right at a screen all the time. And they're not used to shooting out, right? And looking outside and looking beyond. They're just right here all the time. And so they're becoming very nearsighted. And all of us too, we're on our screens all day long with work, with other things. And maybe you're experiencing dryness in your eyes. Maybe your vision's getting a little bit blurry. So you can follow the 20-20-20 rule. And my kids and I still work on this because I've got 2 kids in online school and 1 in a hybrid program right now. So it's every 20 minutes, look away from your screen for 20 seconds and look away 20 feet away. So every 20 minutes, look away from your screen, look 20 feet away, and do that for 20 seconds. And I tell you what, so it's 20-20-20 rule. And I probably do that for like 3 seconds and then I'm right back on. And so you really kind of have to work on it. So you can kind of work on it with the meditation too. You can look for 20 seconds, pray for 20 seconds. So that's nice too. And then, take it further, stand up. That's even better. Stand up, walk around, look 20-20-20. Ears are being affected, that kids are listening. The decibels levels are too high. And so you're going to see with your grandchildren and your children, a lot of kids who have hearing problems as they're growing up. As a reference, normal conversation is about 60 decibels. A lawnmower is 90 decibels and a loud rock concert is about 120 decibels. And a lot of times kids, when they put on the earbuds, they are at that kind of level. And they're doing it constantly, and that's going to damage their eardrums. So you can say, like, if your kid has their earbuds on and you're talking to them and things are happening and they cannot hear you at all, you already know it's too loud. So that can be a test. And they might be pretending that they can't hear you, but you can let them know, don't pretend that way, because then I'm going to take it away because I feel like something's wrong with your ears. So you're protecting the eyes, protecting the ears. And then there's text neck. And that's when you get that soreness in your neck and your shoulders because you're hunched over your device for hours and hours, hours. And this of the neck is not meant to support this position for so long. And so that's why you see this text neck of people with sore necks. Of course, the thumbs, because you're texting, you're doing all these things. So all these people with sore thumbs and having trouble with their wrists and all sorts of things because of being on the computer so long. And then, of course, sleep is so important, and sleep is disrupted because your kids, maybe we have a digital baby in the room, which is this thing. So if you've got a teenager that's got a phone in their room, guess what? 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, it's a digital baby. And it's waking our children up, our grandchildren up. And no wonder they're moody and they're tired. And sleep is so important. And so for us as adults and for our kids, get the devices out of the rooms. And that might be an apology. That might be, hey, I haven't realized, I didn't want you to be mad at me, but I'm realizing now a good night's sleep is really key to your emotional health, your physical health. I mean, think of all the kids and adults with mental illness right now. And not everything, but many people would be aided by sleeping for kids, 9 to 11 hours. For adults, 8 hours. A good night's sleep would do a world of good. And so that might be your action step from tonight, is get that digital baby out of the room.
I'm
So
jumping on, Arlene, because I mean, my mind is just
Yes.
have 1,000 questions about what you're saying.
Yes.
Because it's, oh my goodness, it's making such an impact. I'm thinking about my weekend that I just had, all my family here, my grandkids, and that physical, I get that. I can
Yeah.
see that with the eyes, the ears. And I'm thinking about that emotional and spiritual
Yeah.
impact that device is having. And this is crazy, but my granddaughter is 7, one of them, and I let her have my phone, and she wanted to watch this funny little girl and her friend.
Yeah.
And she was watching it, and I was sitting by her, and
Yeah.
it seemed harmless. But the girl kept saying, "Oh my God." And I realized that they were like these 2 little girls doing funny little skits, but
Right.
she kept saying that over and over.
Yeah.
And I took that, I said, that is not right to take
Yes.
God's name in vain. But if I had not have been paying attention, what I thought was harmless
Yes.
was so against what we have been trying to teach them.
Yes.
But Arlene, that device, that time has more power than we think. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking about your family. You're a mom. You have what, two teenagers and one. How?
Sixth grader. Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about your family? How did this, how did you get moved to the point of
Yeah.
writing about this? Was there a tripwire? Did something
Mhm.
happen? And I'm going to go away, but I just had to stop you because
Yeah.
I know everybody else is thinking the same thing.
Totally. Thank you for doing that.
Or
Yeah.
pictures or anything you want to share about your family. So
Yes.
I'm going to just go away off the screen, but we
Yeah.
want to hear some how you got to this place.
Yes. My husband, James, is a realtor. So if you want to come to San Diego, give us a call. But he's a realtor. And before we had kids, he would show property and see people, and he would notice these kids that, were distracted, on devices, and think, man, I don't want this. I don't want this for our family. So very early on, we'd see people like either in their home and they're glued to the television, or they're glued to some, we were kind of in that generation, so that all these devices are still coming into play. So we decided from a very young age, like, we want our kids to read, we want our kids to talk to us, we want our kids to look us in the eye. So we knew we don't want to go the normal route, because we were seeing like the normal route is kids on screens, and that's a whole lot of their lives. So let me show you kind of what the kids now are. It's Lucy, Noelle, and Ethan, and they are now 11 and 14 and 16. But when they were little like this, it was like, man, we wanted to protect them, we want to protect their brains. And of course, this is the fun stage. And I will tell you that I know when you have grandkids that are this age, or children, and you're thinking, how in the world can I entertain these people without screens? Like, how is that even possible? And I just want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, I started writing books before this stage. So I've been writing books while these little kids were all around me in the house, and they will get used to what you set up for them. So if they realize, okay, there's not an iPad or anything available to me, but there are books and there are blocks and there's coloring and we can go outside, guess what they will do? They're children. They will figure out how to play. And so I just want to encourage you, the younger your kids and your grandkids are, the easier this is going to be to adjust them, to say, hey, this is going to be more normal, that when we have free time, we draw, we play, we sing, we run, we jump, we do all the stuff that kids naturally do. And the older your kids are, it's still possible. You can do it, but just remember, there's going to be pushback at the beginning. Like, this is kind of hard, but then if you can get through the hard, then you'll realize this is so much better. So you can have your children amuse themselves without screens. And for them to say, I'm bored, is actually a really great thing, because it allows them to be creative. It's a good thing. And then let's see, why I'm sorry, I'm pressing advance to oh, there we go. So here they are now. And what I want to say is they don't have social media, because I've done the research, and social media, there's such a strong correlation between depression and anxiety in a girl, and when she gets social media and when she adopts it and it becomes part of her life. And we just kind of think there's enough challenge in life and being a teenager without all that drama. So my girls don't have social media. My son does not play video games, and they go to public school. They don't have cell phones either. So we are very much an anomaly, but they're healthy. They play, they have sports, they teach, they tutor, they're involved, they volunteer. It can be done. My husband James and our dog Winston, so that we got a dog because we were like, this will help us walk and this will help us exercise. And he really has. And then this was from yesterday. This is Mother's Day. So myself and my mom and the kids. So 3 generations. There's a ping pong table behind us that you cannot see. So trying to find active things to do on a regular basis. So my kids have this memory of going over to my mom's house and my dad's house and playing ping pong. I think that's a really cool memory. And they have lots of memories of not being on screens. Were they on screen? Sure. Maybe a half an hour. And I tell you what, the old technology is better than the new technology. So put in a half an hour DVD for your grandchild or for your kid. And guess what happens? It starts, exactly what they're watching, and then it ends. Whereas obviously when you were like the experience you were talking about, Vicki, you're watching something and you think it's innocent. And then you're like, what was that? You don't know what they're watching on YouTube or Netflix. So they might start with something, but they might go somewhere completely different. And so that's a little bit about my family. And thank you so much for allowing me to share. And I know we've kind of just touched the surface of all this, of what's happening in your child's brain, what's happening in their body and their spirit. But I hope this has piqued your interest to say, I'm going to do something like this is important. And we need to get healthier in this area. And no, it just might start with, hey, screen-free mealtime, or a digital Sabbath, that on Thursday nights, we're not going to do our digital stuff after dinner. Instead, we're going to have books and board games, and you don't have to go crazy, but do something. And a lot of times it's the parents. We're the ones that struggle with it the most. That's why I wrote this book, Calm, Cool, and Connected. It's 5 digital habits for adults. How can we model digital health? Because as Howard Hendricks says, you cannot impart what you do not possess. And if we don't have control, right, over our digital life, it's hard to pass that along to the next generation. So that's a good question. If the next generation following me use technology just like I do, would they be healthy? And I think that's a great place to land, because that's what we want for the people that follow after us.
And they are watching us.
They're watching.
And it's not all the kids. They're absolutely watching us. And we want to do a really quick poll here.
Yes.
Kind of fun. I'm going to launch this poll, and Arlene's going to help us with this question.
Yeah. And this is related to what I just said about how they're watching us. And so they did this survey of 6,000 kids, and they asked, like, what's your parents' worst habit? So we're going to do on this poll, what do you think they said? Kids said their parents' worst habit was breaking promises, nagging, checking their phones too often, or embarrassing them in front of friends. So go ahead and click what you think the kids said was their parents' worst habit.
Anybody else jump on really quick? Okay, I'm going to end the poll because it really wasn't that hard to think about. But 11% said breaking promises, 18% said nagging, embarrassing in front of your friends, 11%, and wow, 61% said checking their phones.
That's right. So we know we're even harder on ourselves than, so the kids, you're absolutely correct. That was the number one answer. And 54% of kids in America said that was their parents' worst habit. But Brazil was the worst. They had said 87% said that answer in Brazil. So you see, like, it's a problem in all sorts of countries. So we can ask ourselves, like my co-author, Dr. Gary Chapman, talks about, if you're on your phone, if you're on your phone and your kid comes to you, but you're just constantly on your phone, if that happens once, that's not a big deal. But if your kid constantly comes and you're like, what? Yeah. What? They realize I am not as important as that thing. And that, of course, is not the message that we want to give.
And we do talk about, we need to be present. We need to be in the moment.
Yeah.
That's a popular song right now, but
yes.
I wonder if it's a reality.
Yes.
I really believe that we can just put that device away. Can you mention something earlier that I thought was interesting? You said that the impact of social media on teenage girls.
Yeah.
And you've discovered and done some research on that. Yeah. And I will tell you, I've read Arlene's book, Screen Kids, and I have bought the book and given it to both of my grown children that have these age children for them to read it. And you said, one of the quotes that I just jumped out at me from the book is, it's never been easier to bully someone, just push send. And the emotional impact that social media is having. Can you talk a little bit more about that? And
absolutely,
you have the screen, but that's so important.
Yeah. It's this idea, when I was in elementary school, I remember there was this one boy who at recess, he'd say, China girl, China girl. And then I'd run away and I'd go in the bathroom. And that just happened once in a while. And then when I was home, I was safe. It was no problem. Well, today, what happens? that doesn't just happen at recess and then it stops, but it's posted on your social media. And then guess what? That girl, what is she doing? She's constantly looking at it all day long, and it's with her. And that's a huge thing. And people don't say, like, if you had to say the same things face to face, you wouldn't do it. Like if you saw someone face to face and you said, like, I think you're a blank, and it was this awful word, you wouldn't say it because you'd realize, okay, that's a wrong thing to say. The person in front of me is now sobbing and I've done something wrong. I mean, there's something there. But when you're on a phone and a device, it's not like it's people. They're just like little avatars, or it seems very disposable. And so when you then make your comment, I think you're this, and it's this awful comment you'd never say to someone face to face, but you'll do it on social media, right? And so that's the problem. It's dehumanizing, because again, you can do something on a screen that you would never have the guts or even hopefully the heart to do face to face. And then it makes you popular when you're mean and you're snarky and you get attention, and people just want attention. It's a crying out of attention. And so it really is a very mean playground out there. And so I just talked to a girl on Mother's Day. She's in ninth grade and she just got a phone. And she was saying how she was glad she didn't have it in middle school because she missed all the drama. She said every day, everyone would have all this drama about what did they post? What did they say? What did they say? It was all this drama. And she said, I was just glad that I missed all of that. So there is that. It's so unhealthy and it's so fake because you're trying to maintain your brand of what kind of online, persona you're trying to be. So you're trying to say the right things to be your brand. So you're not being authentic. And then when it's all said and done, if you get sick, are any of those followers going to come with some chicken soup and sit with you? Right? When it really comes down to it, you need true friends who know you and will actually show up and be part of your real life. So it's very harmful for kids.
I mean, real friends.
Real friends.
I checked the other day to see how many friends I had on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
It was like 7,000 something.
Right.
And are those my real friends? Those
Yeah.
aren't my friends. Half of
Yeah.
them, I don't even know who they are.
Right. Sure.
And my husband always says, we don't need a lot of friends.
Yeah.
We just need real friends.
Yes.
And this persona, this
Yeah.
life that we project on social media, it's not even real and not at all. And it breeds that discontentment with your
Yeah.
own life.
Mhm.
I know that there are times that me, mature Christian follower,
Right.
I understand how it works. And
Yes.
I'm scrolling through and I see some people doing some really fun things.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I wish I was doing something really
Right.
fun instead of working today. Well,
Yes.
I'm scrolling through social media and I should be working.
And think of it, you used to just be able to compare yourself against like someone in your office or someone in your neighborhood or someone in your PTA group. Now you get to look at the whole world. And it's too overwhelming. It is overwhelming.
And it's not even real. And that people that we would choose to spend hours breeding discontentment with our own life by comparing it to something that is not even
Yes.
real.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand the vegetables, and I keep thinking, well, I'll just read those people that post those scriptures.
Mhm.
That that is a great vegetable, but it's just get led astray.
Yeah.
Arlene, like you talked
You
about.
kind of think, I'll give you another vegetable analogy, and hot potato. So it's the idea of like get in and like look what you want to, but then think of your phone, social media, all this like a hot potato. Like I want to use it and I want to get rid of it as soon as possible. Like I want to snap the picture of all my friends and have that, and I want to get rid of my phone as soon as possible so I can actually talk to these people. So you think of it like use it and get rid of it when you're with people.
We need to get tips from one another about, one tip I heard from Dr. Sandra Dalton Smith,
Yeah.
turn off your notifications.
Right. You don't need that.
You want to see what the news is about.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
we got a little Q&A box here, and we have a few minutes before we finish up with Arlene tonight. And of course, all of our webinars are recorded. If you want to share this with your friends, family, please do. But if you have a question, and this is a really big question that's popped up like twice, what are the name of your books? And
And I did type it into the chat. So we've been talking about screen kids and grandparenting screen kids. And I'll also type in Calm, Cool, and Connected, which is the one that is this is really good for adults to read. It's habits that we can have to help us become more digitally balanced, but you can also give this to your teenager. I think it's appropriate and fine for your teenager to read as well.
And I can, yeah, I've got those right here. I'm going to share my screen. Here I am showing my technology that's okay. I can kind of do it. Okay. Here's Arlene's website. So be sure and connect with her there. And then also here, this is the book that I don't know anybody who shouldn't have this book. I'm just telling you, people, connect with Arlene here and tell us.
And there's a lot on that on screenkidsbook.com. There are different free resources you can look at when you go there and you scroll to the bottom. There are discussion questions about the book. There are like table talk questions that you can have to start conversation around the dinner table. There's a quiz. Is my child getting too much screen time? So that's definitely there for you. And then on my arlenepellicane.com, you'll see a different resources. You don't have to show it. And then I also have a Happy Home podcast that you can listen to.
And your Facebook Live, tell us about that. I mean,
yeah. To be honest with you, I've been going more into the podcasting realm and doing less Facebook Live. So for a while, I was doing a weekly Facebook Live, but now I'm doing a weekly podcast. So the podcast is the Happy Home Podcast. And so I'm on Facebook and I do lives once in a while, but not as regularly as I used to. But part of that is my whole like love-hate relationship with social media, as we've been talking about.
I know. It's a great way to vegetably connect with people.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's great.
It is. It's a healthy way to connect with people and to spread the gospel, good news, encouragement. But we can't always manage ourselves.
Yeah.
And the things that you shared tonight, Arlene, are so helpful. Body, soul, mind, and spirit, because that's what we're about at First Place for Health. We believe in whole person wellness, and it's not going away.
Yeah.
It is the way of the future, and we must learn how to navigate our way through for ourselves and for our children and our grandchildren. It's so important. And I just appreciate you so much being with us tonight. And I don't know if you have any last comments before we say goodnight to our sweet people.
No.
And I'm shutting down my computer when I'm finished.
I just want to thank you so much, Vicki, for having me. And thank you, First Place for Health friends. And, you know, that it can seem kind of bleak, but there is always hope. And there's always like a small tweak that you could make that would make a huge difference. You know, and obviously it's something that we all know is that the more we're on screens, the more sedentary we are. And the more sedentary we are, the less healthy we are. And so here we are. And if we as adults are having this problem, we've got to make sure that our kids are moving. This is what kids do, right? They naturally are geared to move. But once you put a tablet in front of them, they all of a sudden they don't budge for hours. And so this summer, get your kids and your grandkids out, kick them out of the house, tell them you cannot have a screen, you know, lock it up in a safe and give it to them for half an hour a day. And that's it. But don't be afraid to make some changes. And for some of us, it's really a reset that you have to say, hey, no video games at all for 1 week. And just like you would do a health reset, you know, for physical foods that you eat, same thing is true, that might be something that's hard at first, but it will be very healthy and good for your children.
No discipline seems.
Yes.
That's right.
That's right.
Tells us, but it pays off.
It does.
Will reap such a reward, such fruit in every area, body, soul, mind, and spirit. So thanks, Arlene. I hope we'll see you again at First Place for Health. And you guys, you all know fp4h.com. You can find all kinds of information about whole person wellness. So thank you again, Arlene. We'll say
Thank
goodnight
you.
to you.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.